Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Nikita Antoine and today we'll be doing a reading for the sign of Scorpio. As always, all of my readings are timeless, so whenever the message finds you and resonates, and it's yours at the time at which you find it. So today, Scorpio, we are doing your reading with the, it's funny, I was going to say threads of fate, it's not. We're doing it with the Ethereal Visions and the Dreamscape Oracle by Hughes. Let's see, at the bottom of the deck we have the Selkie, and on the split we have Temperance. Let's look at these real quick. All right, so so the Selkie is a shape-shifting energy. You see the skin here? This is like her skin. So she has the ability to be able to either come out of the skin or, you know what I mean, like go into the skin. There's like two forms is what it's talking about. And almost like with the Temperance energy, you know how Temperance is like things are mixed in certain quantities in order to produce some type of like effect, if you will. And in this instance, it's talking about knowing how to, what to put into the next shape, if you will, the next shape to take. Okay. So knowing how to create or blend in the next shape that you'll take. That's very cool. Okay, so that's very interesting because I'm wanting to say that this shape that is being, the shape is this Temperance energy, like an angelic energy, because the Selkie talks about, so the Selkie's natural habitat is in the water. And then, you know, of course it comes onto land in a different form. And this is almost talking about how it's like being an angel in disguise. Okay. An angel in disguise. That's really beautiful. All right, so let's get a overall energy for Scorpio. Ah, I knew it. Okay, so when I pulled, was it, I can't remember which one it was, if it was Temperance or Selkie, but underneath it was the Palomino. And I was like, oh, that might have something to do with this, but I didn't want to pull it out, you know. But this Palomino is, it talks about something that stands against the night, stands out against the night, like the light of it stands out against the night. So if we're speaking of, you know, an angel in disguise, perhaps the light that you've been giving off is standing out, almost like the angel that is in disguise is no longer in it's like it's visible now. Is standing out against, it's crazy because I want to say the night, but it's like it's coming out as standing out against the darkness, which, you know, angel, devil, that whole dynamic. But it's like now you're visible. There's no disguising it anymore. The shape-shifting ability to be able to disguise has kind of, I want to say it's fallen away. It's like you're very visible to the public, perhaps. All right, so we'll just keep those in mind and see how they tie into the reading. I can see it tying into the reading because there's some type of gift that perhaps you're very hesitant about revealing. And that seems very, if you're coming out of disguise, then that gift is going to be on the surface, you know? All right, so we're starting your reading today off with the High Priestess. And this is coming out as, it's coming out as like a future vision of you. I mean, it is current. You are currently in this High Priestess energy, but there's something about this card that is speaking of the development of your High Priestess energy. And the development, it's very, the word that I was hearing was dignified. It's a very dignified position to have, and it does hold a higher responsibility because there is some type of guardianship that is being, you know what I mean, like the guardian of secret knowledge, if you will. There is that is being portrayed here. It's getting really hot in here all of a sudden. But yeah, there's that's being portrayed here. But then there's also this kind of like an in-training effect as well, because we see this circle here that is surrounding the High Priestess, and I'm noticing there's gaps. Like the color hasn't filled in yet here. So it's like, although you do hold this stance, like how I was saying, it's like High Priestess in training. It's almost like a future version, that's what it is. Knowing the right elements to include in the next shape. The next shape, this is the shape. And it's like these edges need to be filled in, this shape needs to be filled in. There's something that's not included in this. And with the rabbit and fox that is coming after the High Priestess, this here, while this kind of feels like a future version, this feels like the current version of yourself. You see how the characters, they look incredibly similar. So rabbit and fox, there's an old story about it, but I'm not really perceiving that story here. The fox energy in my own studies has talked about, very random, but it's talked about the galactic center of the universe. And it's kind of like the fox is a kind of like a, not an antagonist, well, I guess it could be, slightly antagonizing type of energy, because what its goal is to entice you. It's wanting to entice you to follow it to the center of your, you know, if we're talking about center of the universe, we're speaking of perhaps maybe the center of your being, like your self. This position here is talking about coming to the center. However, in this case, because we were speaking of these spaces that need to be filled on the edges, it's like you are in the center. You are, you know what I'm saying? You see how it's surrounding? You are in the center of this position. But the fox energy is now trying to entice you almost out of the center so that you can explore these edges, whatever that means for you. The exploration, I guess it would be talking about the bounds of your own high priestess energy. Like, if you know the bounds, like the outside perimeter of your own energy, perhaps that could be expanded upon, because once you know the bounds, once you know where it is, you can then move to like another boundary. I don't know. So we have the koi fish coming out next. And this presented in yesterday's reading in Ophiuchus as well. So I'm guessing it's going to be a theme that is running through the collective right now. And this koi energy, you know, it talks about a fortunate turn of events. And this is, you know, especially with what we were just talking about, it's like the koi is like, if a koi fish being in a pond, it's like circling the boundaries of its pond. And I don't know if this is actually true or not, but I've heard that fish take the shape of their vessel, right? Which is what we're talking about here, taking a shape, knowing the ingredients to add to take a new shape. So fish, like, they grow to the size of their container, right? So there's something about the container here in your high priest, the container of your high priestess energy. There's a circulation that's happening here to explore the boundaries of that container. And with the koi fish, it's like, it's almost as though you're not actually doing it, because you're sitting at the center of the container, and like this energy is being sent out, the fox energy, to entice you to look. And then this energy here, which I want to say is you as well. I think that this is what that shape-shifting energy is. It's like your ability to mold and take different shapes is what is circling around this container. And I'm seeing it as like this one goes out, right? Out from the center, and then it's like looping back around, back to the center. It's like, it's just a continuous, I wanted to say searching, but it's not quite a searching. It feels very passive. So we have the Lovers comes next. The Lovers comes next. Now this here is it's not talking about like romantic endeavors at all. It's talking more about like this love here, this type of love. Because as we know, there are different types of love. It's talking about this type of love. So the love of spirit or higher guidance, the love of kind of like your divine connection with the universe, or God. It's talking about this type of love. In this exploration and growth of your high priestess energy, there's alongside it, there's been this very intimate and it feels very delicate, it's like gentle and soft love that has been developed or curated. Curated doesn't sound correct because that makes it almost sound like an illusion, but it's not. It's you know, it's kind of talking about how I was speaking before about the galactic center of the universe. It's like you know, because you were at the edges initially. You had to find yourself, you had to get yourself to the center, right? And then when you found yourself in the center, that is when all of this like universal love has kind of just like it's like it's surrounding you. And that's also what is, that universal love is also what is enticing you to fill in these gaps. Okay, so filling in the gaps. So I'm wanting to say, as you're, you know, searching in this container, there are tools. There are tools that you're finding because we have the scales that comes after the lovers. So this universal love is bringing you tools that these tools that keep you, I guess, in check, really. Hang on, the kitty. Oh, if you haven't seen Jinx. So these tools are giving you, ow. The universal love is giving you these tools that are keeping you in check, if you will. You know, we were talking earlier about how the high priestess is the guardian of higher knowledge, secrets of the universe, if you will. And these tools have been, you know what, it's really coming across as like a chastity belt, even though it's not actually a chastity belt, but it's giving me the imagery of like something being under lock and key. It has something to do with, you see how this one's, the edges are completely full, and you know the edges are here. There's something in the edges of the container that is like under a lock and key. Like, it's kind of like the inaccessible part of the library. The restricted part of the library has not yet become available to you. However, you wear it on you. So there's a part of your high priestess energy that is not yet accessible by you, but you carry it around. It's some type of tool that you have concerning universal love. Or like that type, it's universal love might not be the correct word, because that implies that it's like love between like people. And this is talking more about like love between you and spirit, you and like God, if you will. There's something in that tool, but you're carrying it around with you. And I almost want to say that it's like, because you are holding this dignified position, it's not like you can't access, it's not like you can't access it. It's just you have to access it. Nobody else is going to kind of like put the key. Nobody else is going to put the key into the lock. You have to be the one that puts the key being perhaps the tool to unlock. Oh my gosh, you know, and it's right over her heart. And so this is okay. This is talking about like high heart chakra, which is that connection that you have with the divine. So you're carrying it with you. Oh, that's cool, because this is kind of, you know, it's never mind, that's a tangent. I was gonna say that this almost looks like the Temperance energy. I mean, it's sort of similar. It's like a Justice, but it's like a Temperance. Okay, so you're carrying this with you. It's on you. There's something about, maybe there's like a misconception that you have to go out searching for it along the boundaries, but what's being misconceived is that it's actually in the center. It's in the center, and that's what this is. That's what this is talking about here. What in the world? Okay, so on the second row, we're starting off with the nine of Wands and the 10 of Wands. And I'm only laughing because this is like you carrying this around with you, almost not even, almost like being unaware that you're carrying it with you. Carrying and it's as if like the search on the outside, you know, this is coming here below here. So before we were talking about this, the guardianship, right? You see how he's guarding, and then with the 10 of Wands below the fox, this is talking about carrying it with you. You're carrying the guardianship of, I guess the container. What is the container? Can the container essentially be you? If you're changing the shape, but you're changing the shape of the container, which would be you, or at least you're wanting to change the shape of the container, or at least take the container away so that whatever is inside of the container, like this fish, can, I was gonna say can grow and prosper, because the fish talks about fortune, a fortunate turn of events. And you know, this fortunate turn of events, with it being presented like this, we have the koi fish over top of this energy here, which is following behind the 9 and 10 of wands. And this energy here is the gift. And you know, you can see her expression as almost not wanting to open, or like, I guess, worried about the outcome of changing this container. You know, and this card has kind of like a, what do you call that? Pandora's box element to it. So in the exploration of this container, wait a second. Hang on, I'm trying to remember the story. It's getting really hot in here. So doesn't Pandora's box contain the universe? Isn't that what we were talking about here? Being at the center of the universe? And does it contain the universe, or does it contain, I can't remember if it's that or if it contains like everything that is, was, or will be. Which also brings up kind of like the library, you know, like the Akashic library, which contains everything that is, will be, and was. This library, right, that you're trying, that's being explored, but the edges, there's something on the edges that is missing from your, I guess, from the depth of knowledge that you have. There's something that can be, I guess, like deepened. Something that can be deepened even more. I'm wanting to say that has something to do with this type of like love with the universe. It's talking about that high heart chakra, which is at the center. So there's something in this that perhaps you're hesitant of opening up. Yes, baby. Come here. Okay. There's something in this that perhaps you're hesitant of opening up, or changing the shape of. Something along those lines. I'm wanting to say it's the opening up part, because earlier we were talking about how to the ingredients that needed to be added for this, almost like this disguise to come off. And the disguise could very well be like the lid of the container, because that's what is on this. You know, if we're talking about the selkie, that's the skin of the surface. So it's almost like removing the superficial nature of the container even being like body, and looking into the depths of it, all over it, the edges, the center. Well, I think you've got the center and all of that covered, but there's something about the edges and filling in those gaps. All right, so I'm seeing after we've removed the top of the container, or the superficiality, or even like the disguise of this angelic energy, or it's not that the angelic energy is in disguise, it's that there has been, I don't even know what to call that, like a layer that's placed over it so that it's not distinguishable against the night. You know, we were talking about being distinguishable against the night. So once that lid is opened, once that's, you know what I mean, it's all revealed. Everything, once it's opened, I mean, it's literally, it's right there. There's nothing hiding it, is what I'm wanting to say. It's like you have the capability to unlock it because it is with you. It is yours. And once it's unlocked, there's no hiding it from there. Like it's out in the open. It's being witnessed. And what I feel is being witnessed is this white buffalo and harpy eagle energy. So the white buffalo, you know, traditionally talks about peacekeeping. There's also something here about the rights, not rights as in your actual rights, but like rights as in kind of like the trials that you need, that are needed to go through in order to reach the fullest potential, the maximum potential of this position, of that high priestess position. There are rites that must be passed through, like rites of passage that must be passed through in order to gain this tool, gain the use of this tool, because the white buffalo talks about using this tool as a means of peacekeeping. So the harpy eagle is a transmitter of divine, it's of divine nature. It comes from the air and goes into the water. So it's less of a message that is spoken and more of a message that has to do with the water. So it's talking about like it's talking about transmitting message to directly to the consciousness of a being, which I want to say is you. It's direct. It doesn't have, it's almost like a knowing, if you will. It doesn't have any, it's not like a message that you hear or a message that you can see. It's in the water. So it could be even like telepathic. It's something like psychically. So there's rites of passage that are, in a sense, you know, because like each one that you go through with this harpy eagle, it's like you're gaining a feather for each passage that you do. Each passage. It's kind of talking about like the books again. like reading the books in the restricted part of the library. And with each one, there's like a what do you call that? Like a token or some type of thing. It's, you're carrying it now on the tool that you're using, that is now on the surface. And what I've noticed also is that there's this final one. I'm doing this again. Okay, so the final one is the one that's at the edges, you know, filling in the edges. I feel like these here have already been acquired. It's this one, the one that's in her hair, that hasn't quite yet been, or at least it's on its way to being like achieved, because there's not much. You know what I mean? Look at all the space that's filled. There's not much in the edges that needs to be like filled in. And then it's like that is what is being carried, because I'm seeing this, the lid, once the lid is opened, everything coming out, you see up by the head, there's this like almost like a final rite of passage that would fill in those edges. Something to do with the head. It's interesting because you have to unlock the center, the high heart chakra, in order to get to this position in which you can find the edges. And the edges perhaps having something to do with, you know, we're looking at the head. Could it be something that is either beyond the body? Almost like, you know how like they talk about how there's, okay, like a soul star chakra, which is, I can't remember exactly. There's like two of them. There's one that is below the base of your feet, and one that is also like above your head. Soul star chakra, earth star chakra. It's like those. It's the edges, filling in the edges. So everything is in order in the body, right? And then, but there's something in one of the things in the center that needs to be unlocked. And then that's when the edges can be filled in. And then once those edges are filled in, like if we have the soul star and the earth star chakra, that's gonna allow this energy, because it's coming from elsewhere, and then going into the water, which would be inside of your container. There needs to be some type of like entry point. Okay. That entry point is what is going into the water, which would perhaps be that final ingredient that's needed to change the shape of the container and reveal this angel in disguise. That was a beautiful reading. I loved it. All right, Scorpio, thank you for watching, and I will see you another time. Have a good one.